Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another edition of the Between the Numbers podcast. We are now into week 13 is coming up. We just had week 12, and it's the final week of bye weeks. So no Browns or Titans this week. Super fun. I'm really gutted I don't get to see the Browns lose again. But maybe they'll have some injuries, and their three good players will go. Anyway, we're into like the home stretch of the season. It's the back end. There's only 5 games left, and obviously me and Will be here with you every week to take you through who we think is going to make the playoffs, and probably be wrong about all the wildcard selections because I will probably pick Miami, and they might end up not going. So, oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, I wouldn't trust Miami.
Oh, I don't know. Like Ryan Tannehill is going pretty hot, you know.
A
I mean,
city that embraces Pitbull so much, I would never embrace. I would never trust.
yeah, but he's Mr. Worldwide, so come on, you have to accept that.
How can you be Mr. Worldwide and me from one city? That doesn't work.
Oh, because he's like he goes everywhere, so he is Mr. Worldwide. But like Miami's something.
Fine.
I think in one of his songs, he's like, "There's nothing. I've been all around the world, but there ain't nothing like Miami's Heat." And you're like, "Oh my god, that's the name of their basketball team." But also, he's talking about the ladies. Oh my god, crazy.
Oh,
Anyway,
such a witty lyricist.
I know. Like we can stop analyzing Pitbull's lyrics and get onto some podcasts. So anyway, yeah, big stories from last week. Well, I mean, I think the Panthers are out of the playoffs after that heartbreaking loss. Not even heartbreaking. I mean, I was kind of annoyed that we got so close in the game because at one point we were down, I think it was like 20, 7 well, like 24-7. And I was like, oh, well, we're out. And then we came back, went ahead, got the lead. But I'll talk about that because I'm covering the Panthers Raiders game. Yeah, there's a lot of stick for Raiders and Giants, and not Giants, and Dallas fans on social media, and it's just too funny. Like I follow like a bunch of the NFL I don't know trash talking pages on Facebook and Instagram and that, and it's literally just like ripping to shreds the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the Raiders. And then occasionally they'll have someone else in from another team to be like, oh yeah, we beat you guys this week. Um,
It's because like the Cowboys and the Raiders are such hated fan bases, so people
mm.
just despise the fact they're doing so well. Like they probably like the team, but it's just the people.
Yeah, they're quite loud, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, we all obviously we have 3 games this week we're going to talk about. So Will, do you want to take us through one of yours?
Yeah, I'm gonna start in New York, New Jersey. Actually, the game is actually
Nice.
played with the divisional matchup of the New England Patriots at the New York Jets. The Patriots kind of scraped to a win. It was 22-17 to the Patriots. Um, and it was weird. I mean, it was like the usual Patriots Jets game where the Jets take them close, where they either nick a win or they make it more exciting, which it was, but it wasn't quite like I wasn't on the edge of my seat for the whole game because it was quite dull to watch at times. Like it took like the first quarter was quite boring. There was a lot of punts. No one could read. There was no like big long drives, like exciting stuff to watch. Um, and like worryingly, like how bad the Patriots play. Like I thought this was Brady's worst game of the season.
Mm.
He threw for 286 yards, but he only had a pass rating of 89.2. There was a lot of drops in this game. They really struggled to get the ball moving. One really worrying thing was how like the offense was lacking so much when Gronkowski went off, which I hope this isn't like the same story of every season where we play really well to start off and then Gronk gets injured and we still make it to the playoffs, still make it to the AFC Championship game, but it's not the same because Gronk isn't fully fit or
Mm.
Edelman isn't fully fit. But yeah, definitely signs of Brady maybe like a regression is in the way he plays. He didn't look like his movement. He did have a knee injury coming into the week, and his movement in the pocket wasn't as like agile as he usually is, and he wasn't avoiding the rush. But he did get quite good protection from his offensive line. I thought that was quite a difference. And usually when we play the Jets, they dial up the pressure and just smack Brady quite a lot. But no, I mean, but I think both teams didn't really cover themselves with glory in this game. Jets took it close. Patriots snuck the win in. But yeah, I am like we have. There's not too many difficult games coming into the home stretch. The Patriots probably the most difficult game is the Broncos match,
Mm.
but we've got the Rams next week, so you kind of expect that to be another win. But Yeah, it's definitely like a slide that needs to be stopped. We're still, I mean, weirdly, like despite how badly we're playing, we're still the top seed in the AFC as well.
Mm.
It just kind of summarizes how weird this season's been.
Yeah, I mean, like it's definitely quite weird. Like in the AFC, there's like very good teams at the top, and there's like there's like 4 or 5 around about 500 just above it, and then there's just a nothing, and then there's just rubbish.
Yeah,
Like you had the Jets, the Jags, and like put like more the Browns, obviously, maybe even the Bengals. It's just not. It's just there's like, I mean, that's the same for every division in football, but it's like it's just there's just such a bad team at the bottom.
yeah.
Like
And the wild card teams, apart from maybe the teams coming out of the AFC West, I don't really trust many of the wild card teams
they're
this
not
year.
threatening. Yeah, like I wouldn't
Yeah,
be threatened. Like even if I think Miami will make the postseason, I don't think Miami will do anything in the post. Like obviously they come in as a wild card, so they'd have to go to a divisional match, which could mean they go to the AFC South, which means they could get a win there. But otherwise, you're heading to the AFC North, and that's a tough one, especially if it's whoever comes out on top from the Ravens and the Steelers. They're both very good playoff teams, and I would expect, I don't know, I would expect them to progress forward at least into the divisional round, whoever it would be.
yeah.
Um,
It, because we're on the AFC East, and I know we're not going to talk about the Bills this week, but
mm,
the team who are still Bills are still in the hunt for a wild card position, and I think they could
mhm.
genuinely be a team that could be quite dangerous in the playoffs if they make it, because their defense is looking more frisky and a lot better than it usually is. Um, and then by the time it gets to the playoffs, they're going to get Sammy Watkins back. LaShawn McCoy is having an outstanding All-Pro season. Tyrod Taylor's looking better every week.
Yeah.
I mean, that could, I mean, potentially maybe be like a Steeler, like a bit like what the Steelers did last year, where they peak at the right time and then make like a run in the playoffs.
Yeah, it could be, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Buffalo. I mean, they got a tough matchup this week coming up against, like going to Oakland to play the Raiders.
Yeah.
Which I can see that just being like a monumental, just like pass rush, pass rush, pass rush. That's all it will be. Um, but yeah, I think the Bills, they definitely have the defense to take them into the playoffs. I mean, like, yeah, as we said before, I don't really expect any of the wild card teams in the AFC North. I'm sorry, in the AFC, apart from maybe the AFC West one, or if there's two, to make to go into the playoffs
Yeah.
and like actually make a run. But
it's just more that you kind of compare them to what's at the moment the best three teams in the AFC, probably the Chiefs, the Raiders, and the Patriots, and there seems to be quite a big gap between those teams.
yeah, because like it's like you have the proven Patriots who are always there. Then you have like the Kansas City Chiefs who are always in the playoffs but never quite hitting that next level. And then you have like the unknown quantity that is the Oakland Raiders. Like we have no idea what they'll be like in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like are they just going to be like a Bengals team where they'll make the playoff, they'll look really impressive, hit the playoffs first game, one and done, and that's out, and they're out of it. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what the Raiders come up with, what happens in the AFC West, because I do think that whoever takes the AFC West is probably going to go to the AFC Championship game against the Patriots right now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it feels weird. Like, despite how bad the Patriots are playing at the moment, we still kind of like anointed them as the team that will be in the AFC Championship.
It's like it's just, I think this season it's just, I'm not sure what it is, but there's so much less clear cut. There's so many teams who are kind of in that, like they're 2 games off going 500, or like they're just above 2 games just above 500, and then there's not like any blowouts like there was last season. Like I know, like the last season you had like the AFC, in like the NFC you had the Cardinals playing super well and the Panthers playing well, and obviously Green Bay were obviously kicking it, and then it's not being like reflected in any of the other in the NFC, definitely this season it's just not reflected.
Do you think it could maybe be that we're kind of in a transition season at the moment, that there's a lot of young quarterbacks who have been entering into the league in the last couple of years, and a lot of them are starting to kind of hit their stride in the NFL. So there's a lot of new teams that are starting to play well now, like the Raiders.
There's a lot of young quarterbacks in the NFC as well. I mean, like obviously, and also the AFC. But I mean, in the NFC East, you basically have everyone's got a new quarterback. Like
Apart
go
from
back.
Eli.
Oh yeah, like, apart from Eli, he's still there. But go back 2 years, Kirk Cousins wasn't the starter. You didn't have Dak
Yeah.
Prescott. You didn't have Carson Wentz. I mean, like move into the NFC. Like, we're like the NFC West. You've no idea who the hell the 49ers quarterback's going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, like the only thing I would say, like the Bills, they've managed to find themselves a quarterback out of this like mess of free agency and what's going on. Like how you can pick yourself someone to be like the leader of your team.
Yeah.
The Bills have done well by getting Tyrod Taylor.
They've done it kind of like under the radar of the world. That everyone's been
Mhm.
looking at because of the Bills. They haven't got that huge following that some of the other maybe NFC East teams have, or even teams in the AFC.
Yeah.
That it's gone like really under the radar that they do have a franchise quarterback.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's just like the fact that obviously on the heat, like Tyrod Taylor was playing at the Ravens, I think it was first.
Yeah.
And you're not gonna make it after. You're not gonna be able to challenge for that top spot with the money Joe Flacco's on. And definitely because he's been there a couple of seasons. He's been there at least 2 seasons in Buffalo. Is this his second full season?
Yeah, it's the second.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously the season before that, the couple of what was like 4 seasons ago, the Ravens won the Super Bowl. So obviously he's not playing there, but like they've managed to do it. Whereas you see like so many other like backups kind of making it out. Like we had the whole Josh McCown, like him playing in Chicago, playing well, then going to Tampa Bay. Maybe he was going to be their quarterback for a couple of years. Well, they got Mike Glennon up to speed, but then no. It just seems to be like no one has been able to found a quarterback in the league. If he's not on your roster already, he's not going to be on someone else's roster. It's difficult. It's difficult.
The free agent quarterbacks that are like kind of knocking around at the moment, they're usually picked up as like kind of placeholders for a season.
Definitely.
I think a problem with these guys is a lot of them, like your Ryan Fitzpatrick's, like your Josh McCown's. I think they're such like people know exactly what you're going to get with them now, and I think people might start. I do think in the next offseason we might see a lot of people moving away from going.
Yeah, because it's just kind of like you can have it, or it's not really much there. Like it's the sense that they're not going to be able to that they're not going to be able to take your team forward. And if you draft a rookie quarterback, then you'll be able to hopefully like make a change for the future, or hopefully get the quarterback sorted out for the future. I mean that's what seems to be the case with the Eagles and to an extent the LA Rams. Anyway, let's go move on to one of my games I'm talking about. I've already talked about the Dolphins a little bit, but I'm going to talk about them even more. I do quite like the Dolphins. They're quite cool. Maybe it's just because they play in the same division as your Patriots, and they're kind of all right. So everyone hates the Patriots. So
everyone. I like the Patriots.
yeah, but I don't know if I feel that if it was like if it was a poll of the most hated team, the Cowboys or the Patriots, I don't really know.
They hate what they ain't.
Yeah, they hate you because they hate you.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm going to move on to the San Francisco 49ers, who traveled all the way over to Miami, the other side of the country, to take on the Dolphins. And it's, Ryan Tannehill, first of all, what a pretty damn good game he had. 20 passes, threw for 285 yards with 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. And they got their run game going a little bit. I mean, the 49ers stopped it, but they still managed to run it in for they still managed to get in for a touchdown, and that's the important ones. And the important ones are those you're on the inside the 5. You either need to get the first down or you need to go get the touchdown or whatever. And those are the really important ones. Obviously, they give you points, so not to be too blunt. Ryan Tannehill, he's passing it around to a lot of different receivers, hitting 8 different receivers on the day. He's doing well, and he also ran a fair bit. Ran for six times, 34 yards. So he's kind of like I always think he's kind of like Alex Smith. That he's good in the pot. He's good in the pocket, and then but his running capability is always a little bit more than what I think it is. I always think that because Alex Smith is a little bit older, and then Ryan Tannehill, I'm like, okay, that's really impressive that he can run. But I always think that Ryan Tannehill's run game's a bit underrated. Fair enough, it is against the 49ers, and their defense is I don't even know. It's just not that great right now.
Terrible.
Yeah. I don't understand how this has happened from 4 seasons ago, how they've gone so downhill since then. Just seems to be a combination of a lot of their players retiring, I think the loss to the Seahawks really killed them.
Yeah, and also sacking a coach like Jim Harbaugh, who
who'd taken them
despite
to.
I think he took them to the Super Bowl, and he's like you look at what he's doing in Michigan now. Like the guy's a good coach, so they let him go. But on Tannehill, my whole prediction on him having an absolute capitulation of a season and falling out of favour, that's going well. That's going well.
What I would say, like one of your predictions looked really probable about 3 weeks ago with Tony Romo maybe retiring.
Yeah,
but then it's kind of gotten to the stage where other teams are looking, other good teams are looking for a quarterback to have, and like I'm not sure if he's ready to give up being an NFL quarterback.
Yeah,
but like for like a good maybe 2-3 weeks, I actually thought he was going to retire, and I was like, if this comes off, Will's going to look like such like a magician, and I'm going to be there being like, yeah, I said that the Panthers are going to win the NFC, but it's not been the case. Anyway, yeah, going down to this game, the Dolphins picking up some good wins recently. I mean, not good. I mean, fair enough. They played the Rams and the 49ers in the previous 2 weeks, and the Chargers, and the Jets. So like not the best teams they come up against, but it's those are the critical ones, the ones that you should win, and you grind out the result. And it's put them healthily into like a good spot. I mean, they're probably not going to go 7-9 because they are the Rams of the AFC. They always go 7-9. I mean they still can. They can lose their next 5 games, but I don't think that's going to happen. Even though they do have some tough games coming up. Just flicking through their schedule. I mean, coming up, they're going to Baltimore this week, and then they have the Cardinals coming to visit. And we never know what team the Cardinals are going to bring. They could blow out the Dolphins, and everyone wouldn't be surprised, or it could be the Dolphins could win, and everyone would be like, "Yeah, I expected that." But yeah, I'm excited of what the Miami's doing. They got the run game going. They seem to have a defense kind of sorted out as well, which is definitely what they were having an issue for a couple of years.
Signing all those players on defense and free agency the last couple of years is finally starting to pay off for them. And I think that Adam Gase was quite annoyed about the end of this game because the 49ers got so close to like tying the game up. They tackled Kaepernick just I think it was on like 2-yard line, and Ndamukong Suh had a tackle on him, but right.
Was that the one where see the tackle where Kiko Alonso came in?
Yeah.
And then I think because Kaepernick had tweeted, so obviously recently in the news, Fidel Castro, the former dictator of Cuba, died. So Kaepernick had like shed light on him and been like, oh, he was great. I really like what a person the world's lost, and along those lines, supporting him. And obviously Kiko Alonso is of Cuban descent, but like the American Cubans, and obviously ones who live in Cuba. So he's like staunchly against everything that was like that Castro and like current Cuba is right now. And so like when he hit that, apparently he like tweeted out this in the tweet he had the picture of him like going over Kaepernick, and apparently the translation was "come on, pussy." And I was like, surely you can't do that. Like, surely you can't just tweet another player in the NFL and be like, and call them a pussy. Like how? Like I don't know. Like it's really mundane at the same time. I thought it was quite funny.
Yeah, that was quite funny. But definitely, I think the 49ers are really aiming to stop Jay Ajayi and kind of putting Tannehill to the test. But then they forgot how bad their defense is, and it kind of allowed Tannehill to.
I mean, their secondary. I mean, they got Anthony Bethea, and that's pretty much it.
Ever since they lost Navarro Bowman, they have no recognizable players on defense.
Yeah, and it was definitely the case that it seems like losing all the players over the defensive line over the past few years. I mean, like the players that remain from that championship team. I mean, Navarro Bowman. You got Joe Staley, their left tackle, and
Kaepernick,
and that's pretty much it. I mean, if their receivers are different, they don't have. They have Carlos Hyde now, not Frank Gore. I mean,
wasn't Torrey Smith?
Torrey Smith was there.
Yeah.
It might have been the Ravens. I feel. I think he was maybe one of the people who went from the Ravens to the 49ers the following year.
Ooh.
2 seasons ago he went from the Ravens.
Okay.
So interesting one that. But yeah, anyway, I'm liking where Miami's going right now.
They've moved into the playoff pitch now. They've set themselves up nicely to go for a push at the end of the season. I would say that they're set up out of all the teams in the AFC, like we were saying that you don't really trust them. I think they are kind of set up in a way that they could maybe sneak into the playoffs because they've got that strong defense, and they have like a solid offensive game. They don't rely on like certain play, like individuals playing well, like they showed today. That even if Jay Ajayi can't get it going, they have a good enough passing game, and they have like a known game plan that works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing much really else I want to talk about. I mean, they have a good run game, and then like the play action passes, and then you can hit any of their very quick receivers. It's going well for the Dolphins right now. Do you want to take on to one of your games you got coming up?
Yeah, I'm gonna pick I'm going for the Chicago Bears. I mean the Tennessee Titans at the Chicago Bears. This game was a lot closer than the scoreline. I mean the game was a lot opener.
Yeah, and then the
scoreline. Yeah, I mean it was 27-21 to the Titans, but they pretty much had this game wrapped up in the fourth quarter. And they allowed the Bears to kind of come back in. I thought it was bad coaching from Mike Mularkey that he should have not taken the foot off the gas and just carried on like hounding the Bears and got a big win. But it was another really good game for Marcus Mariota, who's playing really well. I've been so impressed with him this season. I put him down as the kind of guy who's going to make the leap this year and be an impressive quarterback. It's mainly down to this amazing two-headed running attack they have with Derrick Henry and DeMarco Murray. It was Derrick Henry who was leading this year. He got 60 yards for 8 carries, and DeMarco Murray only got 43 for 17 carries. So they definitely spread the ball out really well. I really like watching Delaney Walker as well, and they built like a really good offense out of this. And I still think that they're kind of lacking on defense, that they're kind of sneakily giving up a lot of yards. They got outgained by the Bears. Like Matt Barkley still was able to put up 316 yards. So they definitely need to find a way of stopping. But the advantage is they're in a really bad division. So they like the team they're going to have to beat to win this division, the Texans, can't even get anything going on offense. So not having a defense is going to be could play into their hands.
It's even got to the stage where people are even calling for maybe Brock Osweiler to be benched because he's not come out as well. He's not been that quarterback that they thought he was going to be, and clearly the Broncos were right in not giving him that much of a deal.
Yeah,
and the Texans kind of screwed it by giving him so much.
Yeah, it's a shame because I mean last season we were kind of calling Bill O'Brien this quarterback genius, that he was able to take the Texans to the playoffs, having Brandon Weeden, TJ Yates, Brian Hoyer, and Ryan Mallett as his quarterback, just constantly plugging in whoever could play at that point. And he pulled I thought it was one of the most impressive coaching moments of the season what he did. And he has that history as a quarterback coach. He was the quarterback coach at the Patriots for ages. He did really well implementing a pro-style system at Penn State that was with Christian Hackenberg. And everyone I was quite excited with what he would do with Brock Osweiler because he's kind of established himself as such a good quarterback coach. But I mean, it's been terrible. I mean, Brock Osweiler, I don't know if it's either the coaching or Brock Osweiler as a player, but he seems terrible. And if any other quarterback in the league had those kind of stats right now, they'd be benched.
Yeah, but I feel that it was any other quarterback who like basically, well, I mean, he technically has gone to the playoffs, but he hasn't taken his team to the playoffs.
No.
I feel that the only reason why any other quarterback would be not benched was because they had like taken their team to the playoffs. But for Brock Os, I'm not really sure if it's just him getting to know the new system and like the whole different ways. But do you think because I mean we talk about this, but you see a lot of young quarterbacks who come in, and nowadays they kind of start straight away. But with Brock Osweiler, you don't get that. I mean, he was behind Peyton Manning, obviously coming through, and then you thought he was going to stay on with the same team. I mean, it's a bit of a shock to go from that system that you had all along and you haven't played that many games for. Fair enough, like you played like how many games? Like 6 games for them.
He was playing behind a really good defense as well.
Yeah. I'm not saying the Texans also have a very good defense, but it's not been what it has been this season just because JJ Watt's currently not in the mix. But is it just because like it's a different system, or is it just Osweiler's not used to it? Like not used to like starting games and like being the man? Because yeah, like he needs to be the one to bring his team the win. Like he can't really rely on playmakers elsewhere.
I think it's a mix of both. I think it might just be that Brock Osweiler isn't the player that we thought he was, because there was such a small sample size from him, and also, I mean, he didn't play much in college as well, so the film selection on him isn't that big, so it's
Okay.
difficult to make such a big decision on him. And I think the Texans really rushed into it. But what they saw, they must have been impressed by it. But it
So,
looks like
like
that.
I remember, I do like the move that the Texans made because Bill O'Brien's at that stage where he gets the team to the playoffs, yes, but like it could be a case where if he doesn't progress with like then he could be out of a job and looking for somewhere else. But
Yeah,
because he brought in a quarterback that can like, look, we brought in a new one, like we're still in the hunt for the playoffs. It's going to take a couple of years to get used to the system or whatever.
yeah.
I feel like it buys them a little bit of leeway time, but I still really do like the fact that they went out and got themselves Brock Osweiler because I still believe he's better than anyone else and like any quarterback on the free agent market currently. Like,
Yeah. But I mean, I think he'll be given some wiggle room this season. Maybe that JJ Watt was out for a lot of the season.
uh,
But yeah, I think that he will definitely, like, him and the general manager Rick Smith will have to answer some questions to the owner as to
definitely. I mean,
why.
like that was the one game this year. Sorry to cut you off, but where he like won a game, but he threw for only 99 yards.
Yeah.
Like the pass game isn't like it's not what it could be.
I mean, it's not like
That's
they haven't
definitely
got weapons as well. Like they've got
they got one of the best.
DeAndre
Yeah,
Hopkins.
one of the best. And then they got Will Fuller coming through.
Yeah.
So they got one of the good. They got a good young receiving core to go with their young quarterback, and it just seems to be taking a time to let mold over and work. I don't know.
All right, should we
Um,
move on to your next game?
yeah, so my next game I'm talking about is the Seattle Seahawks, who went over to Tampa Bay, and I expected the Seahawks to come out with a win here. And they only put up 5 points, and two of those points wasn't even put up by them.
It was
Like
the same.
there was a safety and it was a holding call. It wasn't even that they sacked him. It was a holding call in the end zone, which from I think it was Shock. What's his name? Yeah, Stockton. So he couldn't really. I mean, like obviously you kind of would hold if you think there's going to be a little bit of a safety. But anyway,
Yeah.
what I really want to talk about this game is Mike Evans had a monster game.
Yeah.
2 touchdowns, eight receptions, 104 yards, and he got one of his touchdowns over Richard Sherman. I'm not saying it's like crazy or nothing, but the Richard Sherman and the Legion of Boom couldn't really hold Mike Evans. I mean, I know he only got the ball 8 times, which is fair a lot of times, but 100 yards, you don't really see 100-yard receivers going up against that Legion of Boom and coming. We didn't really see many receivers going up against it and then coming away with it. He's having a very good season this year,
Yeah.
and it's definitely one of the brightest sparks one of the youngest brightest sparks in the NFL right now, and it's a very good pickup for the Tampa Bay. I mean, like Jameis Winston also seems to be growing and learning a lot more. Very high completion percentage for him. He only missed 7 of his passes. 7 of his passes were incomplete. So I mean, obviously he's really accurate. At the same time, looking over Russell Wilson and his stats, he threw for 151 yards and 2 interceptions, and missed 16 of his throws.
Yeah.
Compare that
I
to the
think
7 of Jameis Winston. I mean, you gotta. You got like a huge change there.
they also didn't get a first down until a third. They didn't convert on a third down until their final drive of the game.
Yeah, so they had 1 for 11 in the entire game, which is 9% efficient. 9% of the whole. In fact, the Buccaneers didn't really do that well either. They only converted 4 of their 11 third downs, which thinking about it, like that's not that high. Like any other game that could have been lost, but it just seemed for the Seahawks that they kind of lost it a little bit here. Not sure because it was like an early game, so they were playing early for them. But I definitely expect them to come in and take this Bucks team apart. But the Bucks defense and their secondary especially really impressed me here. Obviously picking off Russell Wilson twice. There was a lot of pressure in the pocket. The Russell Wilson had. He was always running away from tackles and good pressure from the defensive line, which is definitely what the Seahawks need to work on. Their offensive line is probably their biggest issue right now. They're not giving them enough time. The run game isn't getting started at all. I mean, the run game's only going well because Russell Wilson is scrambling and then picking up yards.
Yeah.
Like Thomas Rawls had 12 carries for 38 yards, which
That's fine.
isn't, well, it's not what we expected, especially of such a run-heavy team that we have seen in the past, like the Seahawks when they
Yeah,
had like Marshawn Lynch. But
the Bucks definitely like used the like the weakness of the Seahawks, which is their offensive line, so intensely. Like they were dialing up the pressure every play,
Mhm.
and they were coming up. It wasn't just like they were getting sacks at like random moments. They were getting them at big moments on like third downs, and like knocking him back for like losses of like a lot of yards. So I think they a really impressive performance by the Bucks. Just on Mike Evans quickly. He's had a 1,000 yard seasons every season he's been in the NFL. I think he's definitely like an under the radar sneaky like elite wide receiver. I think,
Sneaky elite wide receiver.
but like I think he definitely suffers that he plays in Tampa Bay, which like
Yeah, I agree.
Tampa like
and how they haven't been moving to the playoffs, so
yeah,
it's just
and
been
it's
that he hasn't. Yeah, he
they,
hasn't
they,
been
they
shown
don't they
light.
don't the team doesn't get the coverage that like as much coverage because like that part of the states, especially like Tennessee, suffers from it as well. But firstly because they're not very good teams, but it's also like massively like college football around there.
Mm.
So a lot
And
of the
also,
guys
yeah,
like
like, and it doesn't help that in Florida there's 3 teams.
yeah.
So
But if Mike Evans if he was in like Dallas, New York,
Dallas,
England,
we wouldn't hear the end of it.
yeah, like he'd be all over. He'd be like
Yeah,
everywhere by this
I'm
point.
trying to think. Any fan base basically would probably put up. I mean, like probably not the Chargers because they're like we're still average, but
Yeah.
everyone else would be raving about him, and I would be too. Like he's a very good number 1 receiver. Recently picked him up on my Madden team, so I would advise people to do that as well.
I'll consider it. I think he definitely could challenge for everyone like kind of assumes that Antonio Brown and Julio Jones have got those 2 All Pro first team like receiver slots locked up. But I think Mike Evans could definitely challenge to get into that first team this year.
I reckon that. I mean, like maybe Pro Bowl. I think I might be voting for him, but I don't know.
I think I voted for him.
I don't know when to vote for the Pro Bowl. I'm just like, should I wait to the end of the season and then?
You could do it like as many times as you want. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I didn't realize that until last year. And then I was like, oh my god, spam it on Cam.
Yeah, just keep doing it.
But there was no point because it was like, obviously he's going to the Pro Bowl, and if not, well, we're in the Super Bowl, so whatever. I mean,
All right.
but anyway, do you want to move on to your last game?
Yeah, sure. My last game was Sunday Night Football. I was really happy because I picked this game. I picked the Chiefs to win, and the Chiefs did win. It was
I was annoyed at that missed field goal, but
it was a 63-yard field goal. But it had like a really like it went to overtime first. Like a lot of Sunday Night Footballs have gone to overtime this year, but it was like the first half was definitely what I kind of expected from this game, which was a lot of defense being played, a lot of punting, loads of like big hits. Like it was really it reminded quite a lot of those like old NFC or old like from like a couple of years ago when the AFC North was like really at its peak, when you had teams like the Ravens and the Steelers and the Bengals like playing each other, and it would always be like really hard defense. Teams just trying to knock each other out as much as possible, and it seemed similar to one of these games, which is really fun to watch. And the Broncos were definitely on top for a lot of this game. They were. I thought they were going to come away and win the game. I thought Trevor Siemian played better than I thought he was going to play. He had 368 yards and had quite a. He didn't throw any picks. Alex Smith was just Alex Smith, like as good as Alex Smith can be. I thought he held the team together really well. Travis Kelce had a really good game. He had 101 yards. And then just the surprise for me was at the end that when the Broncos missed that field goal, and then I think it was about just under a minute or just over a minute left on the clock, and the Chiefs had to go down and either to win the game with a field goal or a touchdown. And I think that it was weird to watch because I thought that the Chiefs would do a typical like Chiefs Andy Reid thing and kind of mess up the clock management and come away with nothing, which they almost did, but they got really lucky and got a touchdown in the end, which was like a very Andy Reid and Chiefs thing to do. So good on the Chiefs. They kind of stamped like another marker down for the season that they're like such a good team at the moment. But I think that we can definitely really start considering the Chiefs to be a powerhouse in the AFC that could challenge the Patriots.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I spoke on the podcast and was last week that I think the Chiefs would be maybe the team that would stop the Patriots, just because simply it's like it's another one of the teams where their strength isn't obvious. we know they have a good defense, but we don't really understand how they move the ball on that offense. Like, I mean, their passing game, like you look, the receivers, they're not top. They're not like they don't have a top receiver. I mean, Travis Kelce, I give you like probably one of the best tight ends in the game, especially right now. But like their wide receivers, they're usually really hit and miss, and they have like a plethora of them to choose from as well. So they might be like dialing up plays where someone like who's the not Tom? I'm about to say Tom Bahali, but obviously he's the wide receiver. Is it Hill? I can't remember his first name.
Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill, yeah. So obviously he's like huge deep threat they have, and that pace is crazy. And obviously picking up all the other receivers they have. Like, Alex Smith's got a lot of options to choose from. I know Travis Kelce's a very like reliable. And it seems to be that if you try to make a push into the playoffs, if you have a good tight end, you're going to do well.
Yeah, tight ends seem to be such a like having a really good pass catching tight end is such a necessity in the league now, especially because Travis Kelce's like one of them. Gronk's similar to that as well. That they're such good blockers as well. So you never know whether what they're going to be doing, because they could just come out and block someone, or they're going to be running like you don't know where you need to like put a quarterback.
They definitely need that kind of like dual threat, kind of like they can block as well, because otherwise if they're on the field, then if Jimmy Graham's on the field, you kind of know what's happening. Like he's not really going to block it that well.
No.
I mean, you have people like this is Jack Doyle for the Colts. He's a very good run blocker, which probably makes his pass catching abilities that much more. Like Garrett Barnidge is a great season last year with the Browns. I mean,
Jason Witten's another one who's quite a really good blocker as well.
If you have a good tight end, it seems to be that your team is actually not that bad. If you have elite tight end, then it seems your team is definitely going to be one who pushes for the playoffs and makes a run, because they're such huge playmakers in the red zone that it's always creating a mismatch. You always hear the term like tight end, wide receiver, linebacker mismatch, and you're not really sure. Defenses aren't really sure who to put them up against. Because you put them up against a cornerback, then you just throw the ball up. They're taller than them, they're bigger, they're stronger. They're going to come down with the ball, and they can outrun the linebackers. So you got a huge issue there.
I think that's why it's so crucial if you're playing in a division where there's guys who've got big tight ends who they can catch passes. Having like such a dynamic, like hard hitting safety, like let's say Cam Chancellor, is so crucial.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll definitely see a good tight end matchup coming up this week with the Panthers playing. Going up against the Seahawks, which I'm looking forward to. But I mean, I'm not really sure if I'm looking forward to it, because I'm pretty sure we'll lose. But but the Chiefs definitely are looking good. I mean, they always do. They kind of go like unnoticed. They kind of like it's like them and the Giants in the exact same position. There's teams who are ahead of them, and everyone hypes them up.
I think the Chiefs' biggest strong point is that they know how to win games.
They can grind out the games as long as they're in the game by at least like they don't win games by like you don't see them winning a shootout. I mean, obviously you saw it like yesterday, but I mean, like that's not a common thing for the Chiefs to do. But like the capabilities they can throw, especially against that defense, they can definitely make a run for it. And I'm liking the Chiefs to maybe pick up the W in this division.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. Should we move on to your final game?
All right, so my last game is the Panthers went to Oakland to take on the Raiders, and I do think for all intents and purposes, it's over. We're 3 games behind the Falcons, and we have a 1-3 divisional record. We're going to have to beat both the Falcons and the Bucks to even make it back to 3-3. So the 2 best teams in our division. But for talking about this game, I mean the Raiders were up 24-7 at halftime, and I remember like I was watching this game and I was like, I didn't expect us to capitulate this much. I expected it to be a close game. I did expect the Raiders to win, and then we just turned it on in the second half. I'm not really sure. I think what probably killed us was that interception from Khalil Mack. I mean, his game was crazy. I mean, he basically single-handedly probably won the game for the Raiders. I mean, one pick six for a touchdown, one forced fumble that was recovered for the Raiders. And a sack as well. I mean, he comes up and makes big plays, and he is one of the players that I think the Raiders pass rush with him and Bruce Irvin on either side. It's very difficult to counter because it's just they come at you with such brute strength. And I think one of the issues exposed here was the Carolina Panthers' offensive line, and it is an issue which people have seen. That's how you expose the Panthers. The offensive line isn't that great, so just keep running at them. I mean, to keep rushing them. But in this game, it was just the fact that the Panthers then went and scored 18 unanswered points and then went into the lead with another touchdown in the fourth quarter. And then it was there was one play which came towards the end. It was 3rd and 10, I think, for before the Raiders got the ball back. I mean, before the game was over and the Raiders got the ball back, where through to Greg Olsen over the middle. It's going to be a first down pickup. It was just out of reach of his hands. And it was he is a clutch player. And like Cam said, like if it's a play where I need to make him get a first down, you know who I'm going to. And it's the thing, like everyone knows he's going to go to Greg Olsen, his number one receiver, definitely. And Greg Olsen always usually comes down with the ball. He is a clutch player, but unfortunately, it was either a bit too much on the pass, or he just couldn't bring it in. It was a tough one to take because the Panthers had come back, had 4 unanswered touchdowns, and it was just a difficult one to have because I thought maybe we're still in this, maybe we're still in this game, maybe we're still in the season. But I think with the loss of the Raiders, I think it's going to be very difficult and highly unlikely that we're going to climb back out. I mean, we're currently sitting at 4-7. I mean, I don't making it to 8-8 is a stretch, especially with Seahawks this week. I mean, it's a difficult one.
Yeah, I think it was a really tough loss to take because I think there was a moment throughout that third quarter where you and like early in the fourth quarter as well, where you really rallied really well. I thought kind of led, especially by Cam Newton, who suddenly like turned on, and you saw like flashes of like his brilliance is still there. I think that by no means Cam Newton has suddenly become a bad player. He is still a top quality MVP caliber type player on his day. I just think he's not getting the help around him that he needs.
Yeah.
I thought Ron Rivera in his press conference after the game, he said it really well. Basically, like the issue this season is that the problem is every time we mess up, the other team just always gets that. If we miss a field goal, the other team just happens to get their field goal. If we miss a 2-point conversion, the other team just always seems to get their 2-point conversion. It's just there's no luck going your way this season in any way. That every time you get something wrong, it just always happens.
We're always punished for it.
Yeah, and it's tough. Like it seemed like last season everything like went right for you, and everything's just gone wrong for you this season.
It's a difficult one to come back down from that season. From that 15-1 to sitting at 4-7. That's just crazy.
But okay, I mean, we were saying before the podcast, like you'll probably get a high draft pick, build a offensive line, get some wide receivers, and kind of give Cam the help he needs. And I think that he definitely still has that motivation that he wants it.
Definitely, I think the really annoying thing is that because we let go of Josh Norman, it seems to be like such a calamity back there in the secondary.
Yeah,
it just seems that like that was a bad move. I'm not like I mean I obviously would have much loved him to be part of the Panthers team this season, and he even wanted to stay back, but it's just one of those things where you look back at it and you'd be like, how different could the season have been if we had someone like Josh Norman there? Just the presence of having that. But then also, I just don't want to be thinking about that. Like, it's just not great. But but Cam definitely in this game, crazy. I mean, he had 14 passes complete out of 29. So obviously he's not doing well. It's like 50%.
He did have a terrible first half.
But it is 14 passes for 248 yards.
Yeah.
He's picking up huge. I mean, Ted Ginn had that 88-yard touchdown. Kelvin Benjamin had a 44-yard touchdown through. Picking up when Ted Ginn went over 100 yards. Simply 4 receptions, simply because he had that one huge play, and that's just that he can stretch the field. Funches definitely could have had this 44-yard touchdown that went to Benjamin. Like he was his the cornerback marking him had just like tripped. Funches was no one was touching him, but instead Cam throws double coverage into Kelvin Benjamin, who somehow managed to come down with the ball. And that was the one which put us just forward, just coming into the lead in the fourth quarter. So I remember watching the game and being like, no way, this is actually happening. And I still have that confidence in our defense, but there's a lot of odd calls. There was age, so we did not have Luke Kuechly this week, and we had AJ Klein in a like middle linebacker, and he was covering some very weird receive. Like I think it was like Crabtree would be in the middle, and you'd have AJ Klein on him, and he's like a very pacey number one receiver against a middle linebacker who's not really sure there. There was some interesting calls which didn't really go our way. Not for the from the refs. I mean, from Rivera, like stacking him up against having AJ Klein doing a lot of work, which is unexpected from him. But yeah, anyway, that's all I want to talk about in the Panthers game.
I'm just gonna quickly. I'm gonna just quickly on the Raiders. Derek Carr was injured and still won the game. MVP.
I seen this thing which is like I can't remember what it was, but it was just the Alex Smith had thrown against the Denver secondary, and it was that he had like 100 extra yards over what Derek Carr had done it, and he has the same stats as Derek Carr, but no one's talking about him an MVP candidate.
This is Alex Smith.
I know that's the issue. Like right now for MVP, like I actually have no idea.
Yeah,
there's so many players who like I actually do think that if he wasn't a rookie, Zeke Elliott would get it. But yeah. I'm not even sure. Like, is this gonna hurt him being a rookie? I think it might do. So like we might do it anyway.
We'll just give it to the whole Cowboys O-line.
Anyway, I think we can move on to our predictions for the upcoming week.
Yeah.
Anyway, so on to Thursday Night Football. We have the Cowboys, and who we're just talking about. They are traveling to Minnesota. And it seems like the Cowboys are one of those streaks which no one can really stop right now. But I do feel that maybe Minnesota, with that defense they have, they're so good at stopping the run. This could be maybe a trap game for Dallas, but at the same time, I'm just not expecting Dallas to lose. Minnesota played poorly against the Lions last week on Thanksgiving. I'm giving Dallas the W here.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Dallas as well. I don't, unless I haven't seen a team that's been able to stop their offense effectively, and they always seem to find ways to come through. Dak Prescott seems to just learn throughout games. Like he has, like against the Ravens, he started slowly because he was up against such a good defense, and he was making adjustments throughout the game. And I think that kind of intelligence he's been showing has been really impressive, and I think he'll continue to do that. And the Cowboys will get another win. I mean, come on, like that offensive line as well. That there's no way you can get around that.
Yeah, it's true. It's gonna be a difficult one. I mean, like the Vikings' defensive line would definitely make a meal of it, but not too sure. Right, on to probably one of the best games of the week coming up here. Actually, into the Sunday games. 1 o'clock, we have the Kansas City Chiefs heading over to Atlanta to take on the Falcons. And even with their loss last week, the Chiefs are still with their win last week. The Chiefs are still in the they're in the playoff hunt. We're very sure they could be one of the best teams in the AFC, and maybe even go up to the championship game. But we'll see. I mean, the Falcons are sitting at 7-4, top of the NFC South. I think this game has the possibility to be a shootout, effectively to what it was last week. But otherwise, I do like Kansas City. But I do think that the Atlanta Falcons offense, especially in Atlanta, is just different, and you can't really stop it. So I might have to go pick the Falcons this week.
I'm going to go the opposite. I'm going to go for the Chiefs because I think that their defense is set up so well, and I like all the players that they have in the secondary. I'd say that the biggest weak point might be Philip Gaines, who he had a couple times where he kind of screwed up the coverage in the Broncos game. But like you look at Marcus Peters. And all those guys in that secondary, they're so impressive, and I think they'll find a way to stop Julio Jones, was it Mohamed Sanu, and all those guys. And I also think that Chiefs pass rush as well, and they've got Justin Houston back as well. So I think this defense will be too much for the Falcons, and the Chiefs will find a way to win. It won't be pretty, but they'll find a way.
Yeah, true. I mean, I could see it happening, but I just think that the Falcons back there in the home. I'll give them the edge. Right, the Lions are traveling to New Orleans to go and try and pick up another win to go put them ahead of the NFC North, and especially if Minnesota lose in that Thursday night game, this will put them two games ahead. So I think we'll see. I think we could see here that if Minnesota do lose, I think this will give the incentives to the Detroit Lions to pick up a W here. However, I'm very tempted to pick the Saints here because Detroit didn't look good in Thanksgiving. It was a tough game against the Vikings, but they didn't look like the team that would be able to close it out. I know they end up doing it in the end, but I wasn't all convinced by them, and I'm still not really convinced. I think even a test against a good passing attack like the New Orleans, the Saints, is going to be probably what pushes it over the edge. But I'm still might give New Orleans the win here.
I'm gonna lean over to Detroit because I think the Lions have got a good enough offense to hang around in a shootout, and I think their playmakers on defense have been emerging quite a lot throughout the season. Two names I'm gonna put out there: Darius Slay and Ziggy Ansah have played really well and have kind of come out in clutch situations. Also, just like beforehand when we were talking about MVP candidates, I think someone who hasn't really been talked about much who should be maybe considered is Drew Brees.
Okay.
Like he's topping all passing categories, like passing yards, passing TDs, passing attempts, passes completed, passing yards per game, pass completions, per game. Like he's topping them all.
I think what's really impressive about Drew Brees is that going back to last week's game against the Rams, he threw for 310 yards, and he doesn't even have Brandon Cooks back. So he threw to all his other receivers, throwing for 4 touchdowns and all that, and he's not even to his number one receiver. So I think it's like maybe the New Orleans, with Drew Brees, I could possibly see it, but just simply because his team isn't winning, I don't think he'll get it.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to pull him back. Is the team he's on, but in terms of stats, I mean, he's having an incredible season. He you always forget like how good a quarterback Drew Brees is because how kind of like subpar the Saints have been the last couple of years. But he is like,
and I mean, putting up 49 points against anyone in the National Football League is impressive.
Yeah,
but also with the Rams and their defense as being like one of the better ones, people think. Very impressive.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm sticking with the Lions because Matt Stafford.
All right, fair enough. I mean, I can see it. Stafford is having a pretty okay season, I guess.
Season.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Right, moving on. The Rams are playing the Patriots. I think you guys it's in Foxborough, so you guys are gonna pick up the W there.
Yep.
I'm not really sure what else. Like Jared Goff, he'll have a torrid day.
I thought Jared Goff he played quite well against the Saints. Like I think he got like 2 or 3 touchdown passes and threw for about just over 250 yards. So he had a decent game, but he's obviously learning, and he starting to look better than what Case Keenum was. But I mean, you're starting your 3rd game as a rookie. You're going to Foxborough. Don't expect to win.
Yeah, it's true. Right, both picking the Patriots there. Moving on to the next game. Here we have Denver, who traveled to Jacksonville. Taking the Jags are currently at 2-9, with Denver being 7-4, and I could definitely see the Jags coming away with a W here. This would be the one pointless game. They're already out of the playoff. They're not making it. But they could somehow come up with a win here. I wouldn't be surprised. And I could see it. I could probably see it happening. I feel like I'm trying to talk myself into it, but I'm not. I'm not picking them. I'm picking the Broncos. The Jags are just this year. They're just awful. I mean,
yeah, I see what you mean. Like I was trying to convince myself as well to maybe go for the Jags at like a potential trap game for the Broncos.
Exactly.
Going to especially after a loss as well, and the Jags trying to take advantage of it and try and get some positivity towards the end of the season. I think Gus Bradley's out the door come week 17, but yeah, no. Like, come on, like let's go back to the real world.
Choo-choo, right. Both picking the Broncos there, right? Texans are playing the Packers. Packers are on they picked up the W last week against Philly, which I didn't think it was happening. I don't know why, but I mean, like, it seems to be that when it works for the Packers, it does, and that everyone's saying, okay, they beat the Eagles. They might be going on a run. I'm not so sure they're going to make the playoffs. It could come down to week 17 where I think they play Detroit. They go into Detroit and play them on the last game of the season, so it could come down to there. I'm not I don't think the Packers have enough to take it there, and I think the Lions have enough to maybe push over the edge. In the same thing, I'll probably pick the Packers in this because the Texans been average.
Yeah, I'm going Packers as well. I think that the real weak point for the Packers is that defense. And that Texans offense is pretty terrible. So
Just
I think
stop the run. You stopped Houston basically, because they're not going to trust Brock Osweiler throw it up, even though he has DeAndre Hopkins. But
yeah.
Anyway, Philadelphia traveled to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals. Here we have Philly, who are currently 5-6. Taking on the 3-7-1 Bengals. I mean, that is crazy. What has happened this season with the Bengals, I'm not too sure. I do like Philly a lot. I could see them picking up the win here, but I just still the Bengals have such a talented young roster that I don't understand where this season's come from. Really, I didn't expect them to do this badly. I didn't expect them to go to the playoffs this year, but I didn't expect them to not even be in the hunt.
Yeah, there's been such a horrible season for the Bengals. I'm going to take the Eagles in this game because I think that the Bengals without AJ Green have just been suffering so much, and it kind of takes everything away from their offense. Like as good as Andy Dalton can be, if you don't have a guy like AJ Green there, it really suffers.
I mean, I'm taking the Eagles too. There we go. Right. Difficult game, this one coming up. The Dolphins going to the Ravens, with that top-ranked run defense, and Miami have been running the ball quite well. Interesting matchup, J.H.I. versus that front seven of the Ravens. I do think the Ravens have the capability to stop them, but I'm liking the Dolphins right now, and I'm gonna have to give them the W.
Okay. To the Ravens.
To the Dolphins.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah, I'm gonna go Ravens actually in this game because I think that they have got their defense is ranked as one of the best defenses in the NFL, and I think they'll find a way of stopping the Dolphins. I think going to Baltimore is quite a tough place as well, and I think it might be one step too far for the Dolphins. But this doesn't mean the Dolphins are going to fall out of the playoffs.
No, I don't think they will, and even if they lose to the Ravens, I think that's still a quality team they're playing against. Right, this is probably the worst game ever coming up next. You have San Francisco 49ers taking on the Chicago Bears. I'll give it to Chicago. I don't even know. Should I? Maybe San Francisco get the win.
I'm going to give it to 49ers.
Because if the 49ers get it, actually, if the 49ers get it, then they'll go above the Bears. So I'm not. Would they even want to do that?
I don't know. It's so difficult to tell with teams that are picking high in the draft whether what they're thinking at this point.
Yeah, because we know we need to. This isn't our year. We need to rebuild it, but still, you'd hope they'd come out with a win against it. I mean,
and it also depends of really is Chip Kelly going to be there? How much does he care?
Yeah, I'll pick the Bears. They're at home. Even though the 49ers offense put up some points last week, I agree with that, but I just don't. Nah, the 49ers, I can't see them picking up another win.
Yeah.
Right, on to the you have that for the Bears in that game as well.
No, I'm going 49ers.
Are you going 49ers? Oh, okay, there we go. Right, moving on to the afternoon games. First, we have Bills at Raiders. I think the Raiders doing well right now, although the Bills on a bit of a roll, but I'm still sticking with Oakland.
Yeah, I mean, Oakland have got to give us a reason. They've got to give me a reason that why they're going to lose, and I don't, especially at home as well in the black hole.
Yeah,
that's not going to come out.
Well. Interesting matchup coming up next. You have the Giants playing Pittsburgh. Got two of the two teams who rely heavily on their offense. I'm interested to see how the Giants' defense, the one they spent so much on, and is going to turn up against I still think is one of the best offenses in the league. And I still like how the Giants are going. They're quietly keep moving on, and they're quietly keeping on to the second best record in the NFC. So I'm going to pick the Giants in this game.
Okay, I'm going to go Steelers. I think that a lot of people have been hyping the Giants up, but if you look at the teams they've played so far, they've been playing a lot of teams who are under 500. A lot of really they played the Browns. They played some really bad teams recently.
Oh, and the Steelers haven't played the Browns, huh?
Yeah, but come on, I trust the Steelers a lot more.
Okay.
I think this is a game where the Giants start to. This is a real test for the Giants. They've got a difficult run in towards the end of the season, and I think they're going to have some stern tests. I think this is the first one. I think where we kind of see the Giants more exposed. and they start to drop off a bit. And I could see the Redskins overtaking them.
Yeah, I mean, Giants are the only team to beat the Dallas Cowboys this season. So maybe. All right, moving on. We have the Redskins going to the Cardinals. Another matchup which I would have been looking really forward to, but the Cardinals just haven't been the same as what they were last season. It's not clicking for them. I'm not really sure what is wrong. It seems that offensive line seems to be a huge issue for them, and I like the Redskins in this game.
I'm going Redskins as well.
Nice. All right. The last afternoon game is the Buccaneers traveling to San Diego, take on the Chargers. The Bucs off that surprising win over the Seahawks last week. Who have you got on this one?
I'm gonna go Bucks. I think this is a really difficult game because I think the winner of this game still has a shot at the playoff, and the loser,
even the Chargers.
Yeah, I think the Chargers they like it'd be so weird, but like with Phillip Rivers,
they'll be 6-6.
Yeah, but anything can happen, even in that AFC. Like because you got to look like those teams that are going for wildcards, the AFC. Like we're saying, those are like not very trustworthy teams. Anything can really happen. Things could kind of flip around. And I think and especially like as long as Phillip Rivers is on a center, and Joey Bosa had such a good game against the Texans.
He's making a defensive rookie of the year. I can't think of anyone else who should have it more.
Yeah, I think I'd say like he could even challenge for defensive player of the year, but I think Von Miller's kind of got that wrapped up because he's Von Miller.
I don't know. Khalil Mack's doing pretty well.
Yeah, maybe.
All right.
But yeah, like I'm gonna go for the Bucks. I think they're on a roll because they just beat the Chiefs at Seahawks. They're gonna be so confident, and
they have just beaten the Chiefs, and that's so true. That's probably why I'm gonna pick the Chargers. This will bring them back down to earth. Like the Buccaneers probably shouldn't have won that. They'll be confident. Like I like the Buccaneers where they're going. I do want them out of any other teams in the AFC South to win the AFC South. I like the Bucks the most. Like I'd want the Bucks. I just don't think it's gonna happen right now.
Yeah.
I like Philly Riv. I'm very.
And it'd be good for famous Jameis to be famous again.
It's true. Right. Moving on to the primetime Sunday night game, we have the one of the more recent rivalries, I guess, in the NFL. Not really sure how this game will pan out for the Panthers traveling to Seattle, take on the Seahawks. I think we stayed out west because we had the Raiders last week. So I'm pretty sure we stayed out west this week.
I think that'll be good for the Panthers.
And I'll see. It'll be an interesting one to see what happens here because this is always a crunch game. This is usually a game we see in the playoffs, which then pushes one team towards the championship. But we're going to see in the regular season again for the second year in a row. And obviously with the Panthers picking up the win last time in Seattle was a busted coverage in in the fourth quarter, I think. Yeah. But with the Seahawks hurting after that loss against the Bucs, traveling back to Seattle with home of the 12th man, and with the Panthers seemingly out of the playoffs, I'm going to give the Seahawks the win here.
I'm going to go Seahawks as well, but I think this is going to be a really tight game. I think the Panthers are going to make a game for it because they still, despite the fact that, mathematically you're still in the playoffs, but mentally you're not in it anymore. Mm-hmm. I think they're playing for pride. And this is this Cam Newton versus Russell Wilson is people will kind of build it up into the new Peyton Brady rivalry. Mm-hmm. And I think Cam and the Panthers will still want to build up this pride and maybe make a game of this and maybe even sneak a win. But I think the Seahawks will win. But I think it'll be a tight game, really fun to watch.
Yeah, it's two really bad offensive lines. So I'm expecting a lot of pressure on both sides and a lot of quick passes and sacks and all that in the game. Right. This Monday night game is awful. The Colts going to play the Jets. I mean, maybe they felt bad for flexing the Jets out of the primetime game last week.
Yeah, but they're so bad. They don't deserve a primetime game.
I'm gonna have the Colts in this one.
I'm going to go Colts as well, but only if Andrew Luck starts.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to go along with that as well. Actually, no, even if he doesn't start, I'm still going Colts.
What, because Scott Tolzien just has that?
Yeah, because he fights for the yards. I really like that guy. I don't want him on my team because he's not a very good quarterback, but I like watching him because...
I think it's just our British mentality that we just love an underdog.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of true, actually, yeah. And he's really working hard for it. But oh well. Anyway, guys, that is it for this week. We will see you guys next week after all of our predictions obviously coming true. All of mine, not Will's, because they don't make any sense. But anyway, guys, other than that, we'll see you after week 30 and have a good one.